Hello and welcome everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is EOS App Demo and I'm a robot, and today we are going to get to know the plant maintenance application. Okay, let's start with a short slide session in which we see the main features of the plant maintenance apps. This is today's agenda, so let's make a brief introduction. Then we go to see a demo of the features directly in Business Central. So, first of all, the first thing, and let's try to answer the question, what is the plant maintenance apps for? Definitely manage the registry of company plants, manage maintenance activities in terms of detection and cost, both ordinary and extraordinary. Plan the activities automatically through the maintenance points that allow you to manage both periodic operations and those related to the use of the systems. Manage the consumption of spare parts and any reordering of suppliers. We have a plant maintenance setup that actually allows us to define the serial numbers for machines, work requests and maintenance points. In reality, we also have in the setup the possibility to activate something, processes to automatically schedule the creation of work requests. Then we'll quickly talk about this later. Another important pillar of plant maintenance is certainly the machinery registry of this possibility. Okay, in which in addition to the master data there is a graphic, we could create spare parts, define which are the components and therefore the other machines that make up this machine, define what are the technical operating characteristics, for example of this machine, create or see job requests, create or see or query maintenance points. Define what are the planning values for a specific machine and query the movement history. In addition to the machines, we also have the management of OK work requests, and the work requests are used to plan and carry out maintenance activities. They can be created manually or via maintenance points. The main characteristics of a work request are the possibility of assigning it to a group or a resource, defining a planned start date, defining any spare parts necessary to finish in the foreseen time, the management of purchases with the possibility of issuing orders, offers of purchase for the parts needed for this job application, and manage the state. Basically, each job application can take on 4 different states, then planned, released, underway and completed activities. Then registration of job requests can be done only if the job request is in the status released bar in progress. When you have planned, completed, you will not be able to record the activity in the face of this job request. As for the devil requests, we can also say that at the current state of the APP, the moment I register a job request, the data is generated in 4 main tables. The first 2 are proprietary tables of the APP, therefore the machine activity movements and the work accounting movements. Then we will see them in detail, and as regards the spare parts, instead, lines are generated, and accounting entries, items, and as regards the movements related to resources, therefore the processes are also recorded in the resource accounting entries. From job requests such as already mentioned above, it is possible to issue offers and purchase orders for the part of spare parts. Another very important point of the APP are the maintenance points. As we said before, therefore the maintenance points are used to automatically generate work requests that can be periodic, therefore linked to a time factor. Every month, every year, every day, or linked to data that can be measured every 10,000 pieces, every 200 liters, etc. We are talking about a filter or whatever, so let's say that summarizing the maintenance points, they are used to automatically create work requests. The types managed are basically 4, then those with automatic creation. If enabled, the new job request is created automatically upon completion of the previous one. We also call it step by step. How? Like as a typology. Then we have the recurring creation based on a time limit and on a periodicity. Or the creation via planning criteria. For example, the work request is created after 100 operating hours or after 10,000 pieces produced. And finally, the creation via 1 process is okay. As for the creation part via scheduling policy, the basic APP is not connected to the machines, therefore the one that was created. what we call the machine log, in which you can make registrations that allow you to trigger the criteria defined for this maintenance plan. Nothing prevents customer by customer from automating this management by linking it perhaps OPLCO to other tools that allow these actual data to be brought into Business Central EE. At this point, let's move on to another business case. So first of all, let's say that all the plant maintenance features are searchable via the PLM tag, so this allows us to see all the features of the app. Let's open for a moment the plant maintenance setup, in this case the very simple setup, in the sense that I can define what is the serial number for the machines. The point serial number for maintenance points and work requests in this field, however, is obsolete and will therefore be used at this time, so it will be hidden. This instead is used to enable the use of the job queue. To create the new job requests, OK. Let's go now to see what the machine registry is. I can define 3 machines, each of these machines. Let's open one. Let's open, for example, this one here is at the registry level. I can definitely define a code, 2 description lines. I can categorize my machines through a table, in which a category of the machine. Can I define if the machine is currently blocked or not? I can define where the machine is located, whether it is connected to a production area or a machining center. Here take into account that at this time there is no direct interaction between the plant maintenance and the manufacturing part of Business Central. And at this moment only a connection of the machine to a plant, probably, and we will talk about it quickly towards the end. We will also make integrations on the one with the world of manufacturing. I have the possibility to link department and project. In this case it is global dimensions 1 and 2 to my EOEO machine. Connect my machine to a master data of the assets. Here is only a link with the assets. I can upload a series of information relating to the machine, such as manufacturer code, date of purchase, date of receipt, date of installation, testing, warranty, any date of sale and the year of manufacture of the machine. These two are all data used for information only. Can I define if I have a particular supplier who performs maintenance or can perform maintenance on this machine? Then there is a whole series of related information that I can bind the machine. Surely let's take this machine as an example. Here I can connect any OK spare parts to the machine, so if I have spare parts that I usually use when I work on this machine, I can tie them directly to the machine. Then we will also find the spare parts directly connectable, for example to the maintenance points, where perhaps it makes more legal sense. A spare part, however, if I know that I have spare parts that I want to link to the machine, I can link them directly to the machine data when I go to make the registrations. If the spare parts are not defined at the maintenance point level, I will be offered the spare parts that I have entered at the level of the machine registry. Another thing I can do at the machine level, I can surely create what is the structure of my machine by connecting components to it. Then, what are the components? They are nothing but other machines, okay? And through this structure, I can then basically interrogate, then go and see a certain machine if it is contained in another, or see how my general system is composed. I do not know if you have noticed, in addition to defining the component, I could also define the start date at the end date, because the component, this subcomponent could move over time and therefore up to a certain date was present in a plant and then I moved it to another one. This too has an interest only for interrogation purposes, but on the operational side, there are no features that allow you to use this type of link. The final part, on the other hand, is linked to information on the data. It contains only information on the creation date and time, the creation user, the date and time of the last modification of this section. What about planning values? Anything I can do? If linked to a machine, it is to associate characteristics. These are also purely informative data. Okay, if we take the filter as an example, if I remember correctly, it should have some associated characteristics. In this case I wrote at the machine level that this filter has a flow rate of 100 liters per second and an operating temperature of 22 degrees. So it is basically possible to connect a whole series of characteristics with which then maybe those who carry out maintenance in plants can compare themselves and go and see if, for example, it is working at optimal levels. At the machine level, of course, I can and we will see later on defining the maintenance points. We will go and see it later and I can see all the job applications that are associated that have been issued. in the face of this machine the demands of work. We said that before, didn't we? They are the basis of plant maintenance, so they are used to then be able to record all the activities that are done. In the face of a certain machine, for example, if I imagine this machine here, I could easily create a manual maintenance activity, so I come inside my machine, do a new activity, a new job request. For example, I do not define the maintenance point. I say I have to do an activity, for example. Plan start date, let's say today we mark it on a certain resource group. We can assign it to a user. Can I define the expected maintenance time? These are standard and the resource group is the number of resources. They are Business Central standard as tables and in this, at least at this moment, they are not related to each other. Okay, I can define what kind of maintenance is and what kind of maintenance work is. These are two free choice tables with which I can basically classify the work operations I want going to perform in a specific machine. For example, in this case I check the seals. Can I define that the activity is resulting from inspections? I repeat, the coding is absolutely free and in this case I say that it is an extraordinary intervention, for example. Okay, because it is not generated by a maintenance point, so it is not expected. I can define if this stops production or not, this too, as I said before about the concept of area and work center. At this moment this is not that it stops. If this machine is connected to a machining center it does nothing at the manufacturing level, so it is only a disclosure. I could define if the internal-external maintenance. This too is absolutely informative. I can define a provided hours and we do a few words later on up on this thing. Here I define what is the priority. We set add standard status. So when a task is put new, it is put into a scheduled state. These are eventually used for closing. I could bind with other job requests. This is a link that I do manually to understand if this activity arose from another activity that had been done previously. Okay, in this case we don't fill it out if I want to put. And the activity in progress, I have to change the state, because only those released or in progress can then be advanced by the operator. At this point I can put it on, I could put it in release, let's say. Release. We also do another thing. I could also define when I create my business, I could define that I do a gasket check and I could define that there are spare parts that could be of the article type, actually also of the resource type, so I could foresee some activities to do in this case, let's say of the article type we take. For example, this article here we say that we may need 4 new gaskets and that we take them from the blue warehouse. Okay. If I had probably had stock in the blue warehouse E. And in the business he would not have shown me here the stock inside that warehouse, so I basically went for this specific activity to define what could be a spare material then to be used. Okay, so what did I do at this point? I took and manually created a request, a job request. Okay. Job requests are viewable or starting. From a specific machine I can view all the job requests that I have in place, starting from an item in the menu which is this, in which I can see all the job requests. I could make filters for those assigned to me or open ones, etc., etc. So if we take the business we have just created at this point, can I substantially, in addition to change its status, can I go and register it? The fact of recording it basically, do you see what you do right now? He is proposing to me to advance the planned activity. I had marked the activity for Stefano and I had foreseen an hour of activity. Okay, and here I could say for example that there is. At this time I put 0.5 proposes me to. Also record whether or not I used some OK filter seals, And if I am the person running the activity, I could say very well, and I should use the filter gaskets, but stock I don't have them. Okay, at this point I might. I could probably partially log the activity I did, so we log it for 0.5. This we leave it like this. Do we really want a description? Okay, let's go record hours. Journal is okay. At this point I return to mine of my job request, and if I want, I can basically access the OK purchase management, and through the job request copy function, let me show all the components that are related to this. At this job request, and I could issue Okay, you see that at this moment the supplier is not specified here, so it means that he expects me to specify a supplier for him. Let's try to choose this. I can create either offers or orders. We create an order, okay, but at this point the order has been created. It is saved in the job request. The reference has the document that was created at this point. By the time it arrives, I can proceed. At the registration of the missing OK, so I could say, you see that here he told me that half an hour of activity I have already registered, and here I could put replacement. Put one more business, let's say we used these four. You see that here I record, close, record, leave my job request open, record the 2 lines, leave it open, record. Instead, it closes. He passes it in addition to doing the registration. He will pass it when completed. Okay, if we go and see what happened, and that the state has moved on to completed at the level of movements. And these are and the part relating to the movements on tables that are the owners of the plant maintenance. So I find myself moving on the activity table, which is kind of a header where it comes from. Recorded the description of the activity I gave and the fact that it was done. And in addition to this, accounting movements have been recorded, a job in which this is also a table, therefore owner of the plant maintenance, in which I substantially see the consumption of the product and the processing activities that have been done with related unit costs and line amounts. Okay, at the same time the plant maintenance also wrote. As I have used spare parts, he will also have written information on accounting movements, articles, certainly a consumption adjustment for the article for the spare part that I have consumed, and on resource ledger entries in this case. The 2 lines of the work performed by the resource have been written. Okay. At this point, let's see the concept of a maintenance point a bit, right? We said earlier that there are basically 4 types of, and the possibility of creating maintenance points. Let's always take this as an example. This machine, and let's see what are the defined maintenance points. Let's take this maintenance note for example. If we go inside its data sheet, we see the characteristics of the maintenance points. So here too we have a code, we have a machine to which the maintenance point associated with its description, any serial number with which the job requests are issued, addresses from the maintenance point, if there is a resource group or a predefined resource, the maintenance type and the job type code, the expected maintenance time, and also here the various data, which are the same as we saw before in the job request, so you interrupt them. Production, the priority is made from outside, if there is a preferential EOS supplier, if the maintenance point is blocked, okay, What is very important is what they are and define what they are, or the planning criteria that we will see shortly, or the planning part of scheduling, DIDI. Of this pivot point in this case. For this reason, for this maintenance point I have defined a certain start date, which in this case has the 4th of May 2021. I told him that it ends on the 31st, 12th of 2021, and that it has a periodicity of 1 month. This is a formula-like field. Okay, in this case I don't want it to be handled by the automatic creation, okay, and I don't want it to be handled by the job queue either. Because this type and can be managed in this way. That is, once defined what is the start date and the end date and its periodicity, which are mandatory, so it would give an error if I had not defined them when I make a create requests of work. Do you see the machine telling me it created 7 job requests, therefore, created 1 per month, starting by adding 1 month from the departure date until the 31st of December 2021. That's what we got. Basically it is that if we go for example to see in the machine and I go to see the job requests in advance with a scheduled start date after 1 month, it has created all the activities that can then be carried out. It gives from the various resources over time. So this is the first one, it is the first modality that is done according to the indefinite schedule. In the maintenance point and is used to create all activities in advance, okay. The other possibility, however, is to use automatic creation. And let's go and see among the maintenance points that are already present. Let's take this for example, let's go and see it in this case. This machine is associated with a series of fields already prepared at this point. We see in this case we have definitely defined a scheduling, therefore a schedule with a start date and here an end date that is far beyond time. The 31st of December 2029 we have the periodicity of 1 month, and in this case we have activated what is this field, which is the automatic creation of job requests. Okay. The first for this type. The first must be created by hand as you also wrote in the guide, okay, then the first creates it by hand, so this makes me only 1 job request, okay, so it does not do it for each month within the start date of the file, but only creates the first. So if we go to see for the maintenance point 14, let's look at job applications, for example. Okay. For maintenance point 14, this point was created. We try to advance it, then we make a change of state, we put it and but in release, okay. Let's go and do. Advancement, so no registration, we do, so we mark it as a resource. We hear that Giuliano does it. Let's go make the advancement. Let's say it did an hour. Let's put a description. And let's register and close this type of business. Okay. The activity has been recorded. Has it gone into a completed state? Do you see that plant maintenance has automatically created a new activity? Starting from this and adding the periodicity that had been defined. This is convenient because it basically allows you to self-create the next job requests not based on a fixed calendar date. Always on the 4th day of the month, but 1 month from the date I actually did that activity. Moreover, the maintenance program allows me not to immediately see a lot of future activities that maybe at this moment may not interest me, okay. Another interesting way to manage maintenance points is linked to planning criteria. Let's go to but. seeing them, then let's take another maintenance note, for example. This is if I am not mistaken. Okay. In this case, if we go and see it, I have not defined any scheduling activities. I have only defined for this limitation a planning criterion that I have defined in hectoliters. This is a table, so you can create as many scheduling criteria as you want, and I said its planning value is 100,000. Okay, so it's tied to a task. A filtration for which I say that every 100,000 kilometers 100,000 liters of hectoliters of filter cum must be replaced. The filter grill, in this case I also imagine that I have connected some spare parts, and therefore I am going to also suggest what Illinois Pietro is, which is used as a snapshot of this type of activity. It clicks in the moment I go to a mask called Machine Journal, in which we basically already have the row. Let's start from scratch, where I could come in here, do a manual recording and say that for the car, filter the planning criterion and tolerate OK. At this time it has reached 100 for other registrations. Suppose I tell him that I have done, what do I know, another 130,000 hectoliters of filter when I go to register this activity. I expect a new activity to appear in job applications for replacement of the filter grill, in this case also, with spare parts connected. OK. Thanks to everyone and have a nice day.